number 1 of what we call the Group B of the first round of 8. A little bit confusing, but you guys should know that whoever wins this best of 3 is going to go up against KT Rolster, one of the seeded teams in our real round of 8 that we do have here for the KeSPA Cup.
Hoping we get some real action as early as level 1. We already heard the coach saying we got to stop Kazakhs from popping off, and that's why we do see the late invade here. Trying to make Ryan as predictable as possible. His Kazakhs, 1,000 gold bounty on his head and then some. His debut game. You're wondering where Ryan's come from. He was actually on Rising Star before they were GC Busan Rising Star. Of course, you could tell amalgamation of a couple of orgs there. But jumped over to Smash It Down. That was actually the Rocks Tigers who bought into the LJLCS, the secondary Japanese professional league, and played there for one split. Looked pretty good. Now making his return to his old squad. Looked fantastic in that debut. Dismantling Beyond, Yondu, Revenger, whatever he decides to call himself next week in their first match on the first day of the tournament. If he does it again today against Malrang, that'll be some LCK opposition that he's been able to take down back-to-back.
Yeah, kind of, you know, moving up the ladder of junglers. We'll see how he does when he goes up against KT Rolster. Definitely not going to be an easy matchup there.
Should also show that Rem has followed in the footsteps of our first series, and it's a return of Aftershock Rise. This is something that fell away pretty significantly over time. We saw none of this at the World Championship, for example, but it does help with the level 2 a lot if you have a 2v2 in the mid lane. The extra stats allows the Rise to push up the lane and not just be turned on and killed pretty fast. Starts Sapphire Crystal, so he's very, very squishy. I'm not sure if it's purely because of that, but people are once again taking a liking to this Aftershock Rise.
Take a look at the pathing here from Malrang Red straight on over to Ryan's Blue, and he's going to get it really easily here. Has a ward to spot for the Kazakhs as well. Just takes it without anyone even seeing him on the way out. It looks like he's going for the Scuttle Crab as well. So you mentioned the jungle matchup. Looks like Malrang already getting off to a advantageous start.
It's one of those things where Ryan said, okay, I know they invaded my red, but I have to stop my red because I'm scared we're going to lose it without the vision that was put down at level 1. They didn't have any aggressive vision of their own, so it's just such an information advantage for Malrang to take advantage of. Still good to see for a jungler that came in pretty hyped, even though he was on R.8 winners, and it was Malrang and Scepted looking strong, but ultimately losing most best of 3s in 2017, and then spending a year on winners where they weren't able to get re-promoted. Didn't really know what to make of Malrang, so the fact that he's able to show some smart pathing like we saw from Canyon on Damwon Gaming is good to see. But Ryan, he says, well, screw 2, boss. I'm going for a gank.
He didn't have anything really else to do, so he's going in for this one. Flashing away is rude, but can he go down? There it is. First blood given on over. And now he's going to get devoured. Oh, this poor Braum as well. That's a double kill in the bottom side, inadvertently given over after everything was stolen on the right side.
Yeah, Malrang might be getting camps, but even though he got a ward down, he got the damn enemy blue buff, they still get slammed by an early gank. Really nice pathing from Ryan, but honestly, this duo lane, remember, they're high on the challenger ladder, but they are the rookies compared to Stitch and Nova.
Yeah.
They're still overextended, and they get slammed in a gank.
There was a ping, I think it was a blue ping that said, hey, we should put down a ward. And neither of them did. And then the Kazakhs comes in. He's like, okay, let's try this out. Turns out to be a perfect storm.
It just goes the absolute bonanza best. It's Dark Harvest, and he gets Dark Harvest stacks and then some. Couldn't get the Devour on the first target, and amazingly, that's actually to the benefit because they can just turn onto the Braum and take him down. A double kill against Caitlyn and Braum. Kill credit going to Tom Kench and Ezreal, and 2 assists to the Kazakhs, and 2 Dark Harvest stacks as well.
Yeah, and Kellen, I suppose, just trying to save Root throughout that entire fight, but didn't even flash away, didn't react in time to get away from a Devour, perhaps didn't realize in all the commotion, but that's the worst way to start off in the bottom side, especially when your coach comes in and said, yeah, I mean, they're playing really well on solo queue ladder. This is why we're playing them. We have a lot of trust in these guys. And then, oh boy, not the best start. Apparently not a great start up in the top side for the Ornn either.
Worried about the comms on the side of Jin Air. Hopefully we're being measured here, because otherwise your jungler's probably got some things to say. If this was solo queue, you know they would.
Oh, yeah.
But at least this is the normal state. We already outlined it when the champions were picked. Caitlyn should really dunk on these two. It's harder with no summoners. And that's kind of been Caitlyn's problem. If she ever had something go against expectation in the early game, then you're on the back foot, safely CSing, but you don't want to go CS for CS's Caitlyn. If Uzi and other great Caitlyn's have taught us anything, you get 3 CS and the enemy gets 1 if they're lucky, is how it's supposed to be when you have such an oppressive laning kit with 650 range. Right now, it's CS for CS and those kill credits, so GC Busan feeling much more comfortable in the matchup that should have been the hardest for the side of GCB.
Yeah, and we've seen so many different Ezreals pop off here. I mean, we just saw Ruler in the last series that we did have. Moo in his opening series in the best of 3 that he had a fantastic game on the Ezreal game 2. Already starting off 1-0-1, we've already had and seen the strength of Ezreal. I can't help but think that he's going to have a good time, but Rian not going to have a fantastic time as 4 people nearly get on top of him and he goes down.
That was a really good collapse coming through. This time Jinair is on page with each other as a new 5-man unit. They take down Ryan on this Kha'Zix and they've got the pushing lane. So in spite of losing their summoners, they're returning to that beneficial state. They're going to get the first Drake as well. Those are the collapses you need to make at the highest level. So it's good to see Jinair make.
Easy Ocean Drake follow-up, as you mentioned, going to be fantastic for all of their lanes. Just denying that away from the double tier. And some of the struggling lanes on the side of GC Busan is also fantastic, so definitely a bit of an evening out there. You'll notice it's not the bot lane that the Ezreal is getting super far ahead. It's actually the lane that has the biggest CS gap right now is mid, as Lissandra Grace is kind of just dunking on Rem so far.
And Grace is also flexing a bit with his summoner. That's not Aftershock onto Lissandra. We're going for the New Age build. Some Twin Shadows could be coming out, or a GLP. With the Glacial Augment here, it's largely about those item slows. Sandra already has a lot of CC on her kit. How about some more? We could see those Rumble ult-esque Twin Shadows procs on the Glacial Augment in a team fight. So you can already see that. That's not a proto belt. We're going already towards the Lost Chapter. We'll understand the full build as it comes in. We saw from Ari in the World Championships, for example. We're going to see it here from Grace, so that means that his team fight assurance, it's going to be a little bit more tricky to pull off those team fights, and when Orin Horns and Aftershock Rise are involved, you're going to have to be pretty precise on the timings as Grace.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this build just be fleshed out. I'm glad you mentioned the Lissandra build. It's just so normal to be used to just Aftershock Lissandra when we've seen it so many times in a row now. We are going to have a bit of a fight over this blue buff, it looks like. Ezreal teleporting back in. Not yet level 6, though, compared to level 6 Root. Looks like the Ninja for now is going to hide on Bush.
Pinged out, though. I think both sides pinged out. They know where each other are, but Lissandra's here first.
Oh, he's level 6, too. The Wolf is in the way, but do they have the damage? The kick over the wall, and the auto is going to be enough. Over to Malrong, rather, is going to pick up another kill.
And, man, the Jinair coaching staff have clearly been working overtime to just focus on one member. They are not going to deal with any 1,000 gold bounties. They're the ones with the bounties now, with Ryan taken down by a team effort twice. Rem, on this mid lane rise, hasn't been able to control the Lissandra, doesn't have blue buff to counter push, and this is the second time Lissandra's walked in without even hitting either part of the queue. The damage calculation with the auto just enough to ruin the Kha'Zix day and cause a bug splat that doesn't lead to a delay in the game.
Ryan flashing away from that one. This definitely looks like a different type of game compared to his first Kha'Zix game that we did see. Started off well at least, but so far 0-2 is going to be the scoreline for poor old Ryan. He's going to look to the top side though. Sword doesn't really have that much mana, but has enough for an ultimate if he dare. Looks like he's just going to help with that ward and then try to get away from the scary Demon Man.
Every time he reveals himself, someone's like, ooh, free kill, because his Kha'Zix is 0-2. Doesn't even have jungle item up. I don't think there's any way to take him down, even in a 2v1, just because the Ornn is just not the same champion it was before. I think those trades are going to be pretty off when it comes to the W, because you don't take, you kind of incrementally won every trade by 50 HP to 100 HP to use W auto. That's gone now. And you have to be a lot more particular and judicious about lane trades, which all in all means you hang back and give away lane control even more than you did before.
Especially against that Aatrox, and you can see the story in the top lane for game number 1 is just Linderong pushing as hard as he possibly can and not really being scared of any Kazakhs coming up.
You don't need to look topside. I think you just look left to right. It's 3 winning lanes in a winning jungle. And GC Busan, everything falling apart here. We already weren't convinced of their draft. The play from Jin has been on point too, outside of the 2 deaths bot side, but they instantly went back and re-established lane control. And that meant that Caitlyn and Braum were still doing their job, even though they gave away those 2 kills.
Good warding here by Minute just to make sure no dive is coming down into the bottom side. As the wards were being cleared out, they need all the help they can get in that bottom side in terms of staying alive because the turret is more than half dead at this point. 2
checkpoints starting to wrestle back that gold lead that Ezreal and Tahm Kench have provided. It's a cleansed Tahm Kench, so they don't really care about him at all to the side of the enemy. Up top lane.
Force that ultimate here out of Linderong, who's trying to force the fight now as Grace making his way up to the top side, but that 10 seconds feels a lot shorter when you're on the backside of a trade. They're not going to go for any kind of fight up in the top side.
Maybe the Ornn changes are in the future. Maybe I've mislaid some plans on that one, but regardless, we'll focus on the mid lane here. Raya's pushing in. The Lissandra continues to wave clear. Game has kind of been told around wherever Grace went. Wherever Grace goes, good things have happened for the duo here as Malrung has been ahead of Ryan as well. And Grace decides they want a Rift Herald, and it's looking pretty happy.
Should be easy peasy here. What do you get when you have 3 winning lanes? Everybody gets ahead, and you get every objective, essentially. Already won Drake. How about a Rift Herald on the opposite side? Ryan just going home and finally completing that jungle item, but it's not going to be in time to stop this one. They're trying to come in now, but I think it's too little too late as it's smited down by Malrung, and he just can ignore the Ornn up in the top side. And looks like they're going to go for a lane swap now. Maybe a little bit late, but either way, they're going to try to push up in the top side against this and switch up all these lanes that seem to be losing.
There's Ornn changes in the future. Sorry for the mislaying there of information. Regardless, the lane's still not going fantastically for Ornn in top. So they don't have the nerfs incrementally chipping down his power just yet. This will chip down Linderong's lane control, however, as he's found multiple members on the other side, but
Malrung, nice little burst there. Ryan kind of hopping forward, not doing much, and
the speed difference here is pretty apparent.
And Aatrox just clears the wave immediately. Ornn wasn't even down here in the lane. He stopped for a while to stop the pushing in mid lane. And can they even get the trade up in the top side is not even 100% sure. There's that slow you were talking about. Ultimate comes in, but Cleanse is here. The rest of his team a little bit late to come on in, but the missed Q gonna add insult to the injury that is Grace losing almost half his health.
And that's gonna be the Rift Herald summon. There's no one to interrupt this. They got the bot lane turret. Busan trying to counter rotate, but I think they're way off the pace.
Okay, well, they're gonna Abyssal Voyage in, but how about 2 checkpoints over to Kellen, Linderong, and Grace? Gonna eat up all that. And look at this Jinner all together. That little collapse by GC Busan stops the push, I suppose, but no turret in the top side. And not much to look forward to.
Even though they spent more time trying to take down the Ocean Drake and the Rift Herald, they're still up a considerable amount of gold, despite there being 2-2 in kills between Jin Air and GC Busan, out-rotating GC Busan a couple of times in a row. Been good to see from Jin Air. They definitely look like the LCK squad versus Challenger squad that wasn't necessarily on the cards before we kicked off this particular match. Ryan is definitely continuing to be a step off the pace. Underfed Kha'Zix with no Serrated Dirk item. We've all had that feel in solo queue. 280 health, finishes it off. It's actually a pretty good attempt there by Ezreal. Regardless, they want to just desperately take down this turret, and while they don't get the final checkpoint, they do get 4 on the side of GC Busan.
Yeah, not so bad in the end, but still Grace is going to take out the mid turret in the trade by himself, essentially. Has Malrung waiting nearby. They're ahead by 2 turrets to 1 at this point, 2 Drakes. And Ezreal, even though he had a good start, still behind by about 20 CS in that bottom lane.
That means the core items are not done at 14 minutes. Caitlyn is around with a BF sword item into Berserker Greaves. We know how that goes. GC Busan need to find a way to stabilize this game. They have some good control wards top side, but honestly, Jin Air had more things to fight for on the bottom side, so didn't really care about those. They didn't need to fight for vision in that area. There is so many control wards around the Drake. Best of luck getting there. The only thing saving GC Busan is the fact that it's been 2 oceans rather than anything for scaling into the late game, like the Mountain or the Infernal. The Jin Air right now feel like they can waltz around and reapply pressure. We're waiting to see if a teleport play from the Orin can actually find big dividends in this game, because the HRs will continue to have fun. And speaking of fun,
well, they're going in onto just a minute here, able to get that great health off just in a moment. Take a look at Kellen nearly going down on the right side to Ryan. And here comes the Orin finally coming in, but already taking a bunch of damage, just trying to get out of there. Gets the knockup onto 1. Down will go Rise, though. Grace is barely coming in. Lunderong versus 4, but the rest of his team is leaving him alone. Not even sure that he can get anyone on the backside here, just trying to get away. Is going to go down. Double kill now to the Ornn. And a wonky fight turns into gold and rewards to the side of GC Busan.
It was just so hard to work out who was flanking who in that fight, but it ended up being Jin Air caught in rotation again. Rout especially was killed one of the earliest in the fight. We watched the replay here to understand it. Note that Grace, it was hard to tell because of the cleanse, actually uses his ultimate on the Tahm Kench after the slow, and they don't get in there. The cleanse on point for a minute means that, yes, he gets ulted, but he's at the back end of the fight. That means Grace is kind of done when it comes to teamfight impact, and Rout, walking through the Ornhorn, is taken down by 3 members. Jin Air flanking themselves in some ways there, and GC Busan stabilized their position in the game when this could have been kind of a body breaker for the side of GCP.
Yeah, honestly, not a very impressive fight from the side of Jin Air. Kellen running through the jungle. How many times have we seen that now today? It's been quite a lot, and I kind of am getting sick of it by this time, but Braum not really in position to do much. Everybody getting too weak before the fight truly gets underway. And, well, they had a lead, but now they're actually behind by about 200 gold. So this turns into a very even game after, you know, it's only 2 Ocean Drakes, not the biggest deal as the game goes along.
Fighting out of position compared to where all their control wards were. They were trying to transfer their lead, but not dotting their I's and crossing their T's on the way. It means they didn't have vision of the timing upon which all the GC Busan would be there. The backup was on point. And like you say, now the game suddenly basically even between the two, in spite of Malrung especially and Grace together having a really inspired first 10 minutes of the game.
Well, as it goes, GC Busan, after making the game even, kind of hanging around the enemy red buff, when at the same time Malrung's taking red. Grace is taking the turret up in the top side. Nobody is stopping him as Rise seems too scared to get near him. So Jin Air definitely in a good spot in terms of taking some objectives away from the opposite side, and GC Busan not really finding much right now.
They're definitely still struggling to take control of the map. To be fair, if they had lost the last fight, kind of like how the cards seem to be dealt, they might have been completely out of the game in terms of presence. Things a little bit better here. So here's the kick.
A really nice kick gets onto the backside, and even though Rem flashes away, there's no escape from a really big slowing Lissandra. The GLP comes in and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm dead.
There's no kiting possible, and that's the trade-off. When you go for these glacial augment builds, you trade off damage for utility on paper. Do you do that compared to Aftershock, though? It's pretty much the same amount of damage. And consider that now you're going to be in range. Someone is going to be hit by a slow or a stun with how much you have in your kit. Basically, the upside I see on this build for a team fight is you're 100% likely to inflict some sort of damage on the enemy team between the EW that we saw from Faker, but also the Super Soaker effect of the GLP. That means you're 100% likely to get off some of those Frozen Thrall Ghost Spirits in a team fight as well. So maybe this is another way to min-max the passive and maybe even min-max the damage available to the Lissandra.
That's a really cool idea. We don't see it all too much. You know, every once in a while, some brave soul will do it in solo queue, and sometimes it goes horribly wrong. Sometimes it really works out like this. And you wonder, why doesn't everybody else do this? Why isn't this the norm? Well, if you got behind, maybe you would have liked that Aftershock with less items. But either way, looks like we're going to have a fight over the Ocean Drake of all things.
Now they know that Braum's Unbreakable is on cooldown, so this means that GC Busan should be able to take position here as the ult for the Ornn will be unanswerable. Here we go, they don't have Unbreakable.
Oh, Ezreal picks up the Drake on the backside. Really tanky Ornn here. Malrung nearly goes down on the backside, but Ryan not able to take him out. Now it's the kiting effect. Minute is going to cleanse on his way out. but a couple more spells should do it. Oh, the last auto from the Caitlyn takes him out, so 2 kills there, and Malrang stays alive. And now Jin Air with Baron spawning. Where will they go?
In spite of having the position and knowing the Horn will be unanswerable, they still win the team fight. We're going to watch the replay. The positioning here is a lot more solid on the side of Jin Air. They're in formation, and the moment that Ryan chases, you see that Mu was putting damage into Malrang. They can't finish him, and then there's not enough damage to take out the front line of Jin Air here. So the target selection from GC Busan leaves a lot to be desired. The last auto attack just had one little speck of vision, and that auto enough to get a secondary kill to the side of Jin Air.
Never chase the Lee Sin. It's kind of that auxiliary, that one fine print that sometimes you don't see on the manual of League of Legends, but it shows itself in pro play every once in a while there too. And, well, 2 members distracted. Jin Air fighting essentially front to back with the rest of their team, with the Braum in the front with the giant shield. You're probably not going to win that fight, especially after a rough early game. We saw that happen here right now. And the game isn't over for GC Busan. They still have that really fed Ezreal, and Mu still looking good, I'd have to say.
See if they can actually leverage it, though, because Jin Air winning front-to-back team fights like that before Caitlyn even has IE, and that's when she really does take off. Wants to use her strong laning to get a pretty fast 3-item build. And if Mu is not focused on the same target as the Kazakhs and the Rise, can they actually puncture through Aatrox and Lissandra? Is still a query we have for the side of GC Busan. Jin Air themselves really starting to take over the map. Every time Rise goes to side lane push, they're losing control wars around Baron, around Drake. Very hard for them to control any area of the map. And do they have a way to get back into this game barring the perfect Ornhorn is a question we'll need to determine if GC Busan can find a way back into game 1.
Yeah, it definitely feels bad that their Rise got off to such a horrible foot. Just in the beginning of this game, was so far behind the Lissandra, got ganked in the top side, struggling to find safe farm. Finally, they put down some wards in the top side jungle for him so that he can kind of hang around the top side and slowly get some items. Only on 1.5 basically right now. Working towards what looks like a Zhonya's. We'll see if he does complete that.
Ryan was spotted jumping over the wall that they know is bot side, so Jin Air push up further and further. Suddenly the sort of brush that you can't easily check at 22 minutes into the game is evaded because you know the Kazakh's not there for any sort of counter gank. Also query the red buff here. Kellen can walk up, the red buff should be stolen, will be, and they even get it onto the Caitlyn, the preferential target. GC Busan need to fight pretty deep, but here comes On. They're trying this play again.
Wow, they're really trying to get on in here. Grace still with his ultimate available. Nice knock-up. They can't burst him down, though. Ryan taking a lot of damage, but Malrang all alone is going to go down here. And there we go. Rise trying to get into the back line. He is going to take it, but a huge Braum ultimate is going to knock him up. Rem in a ton of trouble.
Oh.
Nice flash devour. Minute in that bottom lane, really trying to show up. And here's Linderong trying to get into that back line. Is going to have his ultimate popped here. Can they take him out on the backside? Big knockup is going to get one, but where's the follow-up damage? Mu, he's going on in, and Ryan trying to rejoin as well. Mu really wants this one. The Abyssal Voyage not going to get off here, and Grace looks like he can get out, but in the end, nice little fight there for GC Busan.
These TP flanks from Soar are the sort of TP flanks that got Team Battle Comics promoted to the LCK. He's been really on point with them, and there's been no easy unbreakable to stop the shenanigans. We watch the fight happen here. The TP comes in, you think, is this going to be 3 turning on to 1? A bit of a failed teleport? No. Gets the stun onto Grace. He's down. You're looking for this to be an answer, but there is no answer, and they continue to chase. And while it started off even, the moment that Kellen, who's been out of position a couple of times on these Braum, was turned onto, they keep Rem alive at the start. Linderong goes in so deep, and Mu is the one to punish here. He's back on the Ezreal that saw us really jump up in expectation for him as a player and for the champion as well. And they put out damage that Jin Air has no answer to.
Essentially totally safe, even flashing for more kills. It's unfortunate that he couldn't pick up more on the backside because he had really fantastic positioning and deserved a lot more. He's now 3-0-5 with the 700 gold bounty right now. He was their savior in the second match that we saw in their first best of 3. The He's trying to do the same thing once again.
And if you're the Caitlyn here, you're saying, can we just fight out in the open where I don't have to deal with conditional vision wherever I go? Two fights that have been won by GC Busan have been created by just great teleports, inspired teleports from Soar that have thrown the battlefield into chaos, and they haven't been able to leverage power. As bot side, Aatrox, he's going to get out.
TP comes in. Now they're trying to collapse here onto Rem. Slow comes in, and everything being used, even the Lee Sin making his way in.
Can he go Grace?
Well, no. Too much stuff coming in there. I mean, 5 members of Jin Air finally find the rise in the enemy jungle. 0-4 now for Rem.
Now they stop Baron here. They'll be spotted. Yep, the control ward is put down. They're lying in formation here. Ryan has to be pretty slow when he sweeps out a regular ward just put down and knows about that one. Still, no Baron start here from Jin Air. Rem would have taken a long time to regroup. And seems like Marung's just making an escape. So Jin Air don't feel strong enough to actually pull the trigger on Baron. You look at their vision, and it feels like perfect vision to start a Baron, and yet they are not confident enough with Aatrox not there to help tank it to begin it. That means it's just a pick. It's not a pick and an objective. It's just a pick and a full disengage and recalls from Jin Air. You'll take that if you're GC Busan. You're just saying, hey, when's that next teleport for Soar? Maybe he can make it happen a third time.
Well, we get the zoom in on Rem, who's had a really rough game so far. Just desperately, once again, trying to catch up to the Lissandra. Still down about 30 CS up at the top side. At least the Cloud Drake will go the direction of GC Busan. So I suppose some more chasing power, some more escaping power away from what seems to be a scary Aatrox. If Jin Air could just have one more good fight front to back where they don't get flanked, it's definitely a scary thing to think about, and, well, having that Cloud Drake will help them escape.
Aatrox is definitely scary based on items, but because he had to teleport defensively, his TP is unavailable and will be actually disjointed from Soar, who, with this still being the shielding W on the Ornn, can just take defensive trades and then make the TP work. That's really always going to do. He's going to quarterback this game as hard as he can with all the experience that Soar has, having been a competitive player for more than 4 years. Ryan himself, very, very far behind on the Kha'Zix, but just trying to be an opportunist, just trying to get as much vision control around this Baron area as he can. No vision behind the pit for Jin Air. Means this game will continue to extend. Jin Air wishes they found a way to break open this game like they looked like they were going to 10 minutes in, but the stall has been pretty impressive from the side of GCP.
This feels like a game that's going to go for another 10-15 minutes. I can't really see this getting into a big fight real soon, into Baron, into someone really ending it. So many turrets still available. Lots of times for both of these teams to slowly poke out and not commit. It's kind of what we've seen so far. Trying to steal the red buff away, but this time it goes over to Moo. Nice little step up there from the last time the red buff came around.
When you're contesting a red buff, no one's going to fully engage on the side of Jin Air, and we get closer and closer to this TP advantage for GC Busan. I think Jin Air are so heavily delayed, Linderung having to use his teleport has slowed down any sort of map play, because you want Linderung out-trading the Ornn on the bot side and the Baron start. You need those two things. If you have only one, this is the result. Nothing much happens, and GC Busan say, thanks for the farm. Let's fight with 4-item Ezreal rather than 2.
Grace looking for that flank on the left side, actually, denying so much vision in the enemy jungle so far. I mean, they got some pretty good deep vision in there. You mentioned there's no TP, so hard for them to bait GC Busan into Baron and then, you know, go for a teleport play. But here we go. They're going to start it anyway with all that vision I was talking about.
No blue trinkets available.
Yeah. Do they have the Ezreal ultimate? No, not yet.
Ryze ultimate does check it. That's going to get the first disengagement. Now they know Ryze ult is down as well. So they're going to start counting tools until this blue trinket comes up. He's having no idea. Here's the Ornhorn.
Okay.
Well, finally.
There you go. Finally, Kellen's in position to stop that. And at least it wasn't a teleport being wasted that time around. Looking for Rem here, though. Okay, he's going to run the correct direction, I suppose, and get away from that one.
There is no threatening abilities left for Jin Air. They should choose their time. They're going to choose to at least not pull the trigger this time, but it feels like the deck is stacked for a Jin Air victory.
Well, we're playing ARAM, boys. 5 versus 5 in the mid lane. Gonna lock down Soar now and get that huge slow. Look at that, onto everybody in the front line. Can barely move after that one comes out, but now the Ezreal getting so scary with that red buff. can see the poke potential that's coming out. Gets Kellen, Grace, and even Linderong, it looks like, out of that fight.
And you'll see that Ryan is kind of called an audible and not going for the E-Evolve second. He's not getting any kills, so no resets available. He's actually going for the W. So useful in a Baron standoff. Usually Kha'Zix's basically free food because he can't face check any brush without dying from behind. You go W, and then every 7 seconds you shoot W into the Baron or into the brush, and it does linger with that vision to make you actually pretty useful in this Baron standstill. GC Busan's going in!
Wow, they really want some raw meat, but it's not going to happen.
TP.
The Devour comes in, and Grace right into the back line. 2-man stun into ultimate. Just Minute trying to survive for as long as possible, but down he will go. And the flash forward here from Root is not enough to take out Soar. Question is, this time, once again, Linderong gets low. Doesn't look like they're going to go for the Baron just yet.
Flash A-move actually does not A-move onto the Orin because he was the further away target. It was the closest target instead. So no kill there. But Jin has so many summoners blown for this as well. Watching the replay here a long while ago, remember, this is actually an engage made by GC Busan when Orin hold is down, when so many tools down. This seemed like it would be Jin's bonanza move, Faker-esque backline access for Grace, but they don't have enough damage to take anyone except for the Tahm Kench. Ends up way more even than Jin Air probably should have had. It felt like they had aces up the sleeves, and yet they still did not win the jackpot.
Kind of a strange one at the end of it all. Soar getting so bloodthirsty on that one, but you can tell he wanted the Caitlyn as well and that they were just going to collapse, but the TP comes into the backside from Grace, and really good positioning that time around from Linderong was enough to get them in position for a good fight. Now Moo's on the run, and Root actually, look at that damage! Unbelievable from the side of Moo! How does he do that much? It's crazy. In goes Rise, and well, Grace is going to get an ultimate in a decent position. There's the Zhonya's as well. Ryan got his own stopwatch, but he's going to survive on the backside too. Linderong forced to pop that ult at the end just to survive, and Moo and the rest of his team are trying to go on to a victory.
The Challenger squad keeps outplaying Jin Air in the fight. We thought that Jin Air was so set up, but all the pieces together from Jin Air have never come together like they have for GC Busan. They're on the Baron. Malrong's full health. This Baron's dying pretty quick. Let's see if they get a face check soon.
Malrong wants to get in there. They want to try to get him out with the Rise, but that Aatrox in the way. Moo making his way over the wall is going to say, get the hell out of here. This is our Baron. And there it will go. Smite's on point. GC Busan take the Baron.
Challenger outplaying LCK. Let's watch the replay here because we thought there might just be a full disengage to turn onto Minute because they didn't want to deal with the Devour. They turn around, Minute's done, but watch Moo. Threads in the E. Does so much damage to the marked target, and they can even dive further from here. Here comes Soar under the turret. He tanks for days. He's got a Randuin's for ages, working on a Warmogs next. GC Busan just keep out-skirmishing and out-fighting Jin Air. And Jin Air Greenwings, second best in the first 30 minutes.
Well, you mentioned at the beginning of this day, or at the beginning of this series, I should say, that Moo and Minute, the sub, support, and AD duo from Kangdu Monster. A lot of people didn't even know who they were, and coming on over to GC Busan, they're trying to make a name for themselves, especially Moo, who is just, you can't give this guy Ezreal anymore.
He's got the 1,000 gold bounty, just like Ryan did. Feels like every time we see GC Busan, someone has to have a 1,000 gold bounty. It's certainly not the Kha'Zix from behind, but he's going to build a GA and do his best. GC Busan have the Baron. Look at Moo, who has 4.5 items, also has Knight's Vow and a Zeke's Convergence from his Tahm Kench, not even speaking about the Devour. Everything's coming together, and how do they kill this damn Ezreal is a question I'm not sure Jin Air have the answer to.
You got to commit so much. Now that he has that finished Mercurial Scimitar alongside of a lot of other survivability, honestly. Didn't go for the... Okay, that was...
Bit of visual bugs.
Okay.
Just on the observer
Kellen's
side,
okay.
by the way,
He's okay.
guys.
Yeah, he doesn't go for the shield with the second tier, but still very much survivability in that build. And Lissandra can't burst him down. Caitlyn struggling to get in position and get in range, and Linderong's going to have to flash on it, I think.
And Moo has the Mercurial Scimitar here to be relatively safe wherever he goes, so target acquisition getting hard for the Lissandra. No running through this GC Busan lineup and getting all those frozen thralls out. Real credit, they're making us eat our words. We really liked what Jin Air put together, but GC Busan, a blast from the past, this 824B Ornn is coming together way better than we could have expected, and Jin Air just don't seem ready as a 5-man unit putting their A and B squad together to actually out-teamfight GC Busan.
Yeah, it's definitely something to mention. This Jin Air squad not looking as good when you combine the two parts together. And now it's just the GC Busan parade from one turret to another, bot to mid to top. Have that two-shot barrage blocked, but either way, that's 3 more turrets on the board here for GC Busan. No inhibitor turrets, crucially. We'll see if they make a big play here. Actually, going to try to hit Grace on the backside, who is going to ultimate himself. Kellen getting in front to help him out, but is the damage there to take out Kellen? Nearly. They have a lot of minions here with the Baron buff still. Okay, so we're going to try to knock someone down. Moo getting extremely low in the backside. Grace can't take him out and just barely gets that Zonya's on. And Kellen's going to sacrifice his life now. Rem, the unlucky one. Big knock up there from the side of Zor. But it looks like he got a little bit too aggressive. Linderong now trying to get on top of Moo, but he's going to dash away. Can he follow up here is the real question. You know he wants it, and Malrang was looking for him on the backside. Oh, wow. How did he survive that? He's got a lot of health. Never mind, he actually killed him.
Not sure what actually did the final bit of damage there, but he goes down anyway, and we can back away, take away this inhibitor. There's no threat onto Route or Moo in this fight, but Moo's got the boss, Moo's got the moves, and he takes down enough members of Jin Air to take the all-important inhibitor. Got the map presence just now, but you see how close the fights are when they're a little bit more honest between Jin Air and GC Busan. This is another rinse and repeat. What I wasn't going to comment on because I didn't see it going this way is that Kellen seems happy to just catch Ezreal ultimates with his Unbreakable. Problem is, it's not going to be there. He's out of position and doesn't have Unbreakable for the Ornn. It's getting a bit too easy for Sor. He tried to make a very creative move to get a stun under the turret. The fight doesn't end here like it looks like it's going to because Rem gets very, very deep as his Aftershock rise. Linderong can't do enough on the back end, and the fact that he goes down really kind of donates the inhibitor over to the side of GC Busan.
How did this Aatrox die? I think it might be Baron empowered.
I don't know. Was that minion aggro?
I don't think so.
It looked like maybe. It must be a minion aggro because there's no burn.
There's no burn that we can see. It must be just the Baron-empowered minions sent out some particles that weren't shown, because I think that has to be the only thing.
We've had stranger things happen in the KeSPA Cup, so a pause might have been recommended, but no pause, guys. So we're going to play through and assume it was minion aggro after all. GC Busan sweeping out the last bits of wards. The minion wave's pretty far away. We do now have the super minions on the overlay. Thanks, R.8 Games, for that. It's a pretty cool change. We know the super minion is about 35, 40 seconds away from actually getting to the base, even though this is the super fast minion, in case you guys missed out on that change. Minions 30 minutes plus move 75 ms faster than they used to. So this is the fastest they move. And the highest speed is 75 ms more. 75 ms is a lot of ms, more than Boots 2 gives you. So that's, you know, those are some fast minions. That means that the presence of 3 super minions will soon be in the base of the side of Jin Air. Here's the TP. This is Lissandra.
Trying to get Rise into the backside. It's going to join up with his team. They're focusing on the Grace. Look at Moo all the way in the backside, but Zor taking a ton of damage. Nice Devour this time, and finally he blocks an Ornn ultimate. Kellen able to get that shield up, but here we go from top to bottom. Root is in the front somehow, and is going to be chopped down. Linderong himself as well. And GC Busan have the positioning, and they're looking to end.
They're chasing further kills here with the Tom Kent ultimate. This should be game number 1. Challenger greater than LCK, at least for our first game.
Yeah, looks like it for now. They're going to try their best. Oh, they're not even going to. There you go. First game over to GC Busan with a really impressive Ezreal performance once again going to Moo. He's my MVP for this matchup.